welcome to you all here in the premises, and especially you all on the line. My name is Mia Lahti, and our topic is green transition. But panelists, let's get to you. Quick introductions, please. Let's start with Jing.
Thank you, Mia. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jing. I'm super happy to be here today with you. This is my first time in this event, so honored. I'm working as a product manager in the weather and environment business areas in Vaisala. I have been mainly working with the sensors products, and at the moment, I'm taking care of the humidity and temperature probes, and also the pressure sensors. And these are the sensors used mostly by the meteorologists, for instance, for doing the climate studies or weather forecasts, so very important parameters for them. And I have been working in Vaisala for 14 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne.
Hello, lovely to be here. My name is Anne Jalkala, and I'm a Chief Sustainability and Strategy Officer in Vaisala. I've been with the company since August 2022, and in this new role only for 2 weeks, so it's also very exciting for me and lovely to be here with all of you.
Okay.
Jenni.
Good morning, everyone. Excited to be here, really. My name is Jenni Brunila, and I'm working in the Vaisala Industrial Measurements business unit. So basically, as Jing is looking at the weather side, so we are looking what the industry is measuring and what measurements they need. I have been in Vaisala now for 6 years, and I'm in the strategy and business development unit of the industrial measurements. And basically what it means is that I'm looking at the mega trends and trying to understand what it means to our industrial customers and how we can then help them with the measurements also in the future. So thank you very much, and excited for to hear the discussions then in a while.
Daniela.
Good morning. My name is Daniela Kokkonen. I am working in Vaisala as a research scientist. More specifically, I'm working with the industrial measurements. My field of expertise is the liquid measurements applications, and I have been working with these products for a bit over 7 years now. Really happy to be here and happy to hear and share experiences and ideas, and yeah, looking forward to our discussion.
Welcome, panelists. Let's start with a little warm-up. What do we mean by green transition? Apparently it refers to, and I read directly, a shift from fossil fuel-based economy to a low-carbon and environmentally sustainable economy. It involves adopting renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, and implementing sustainable practices across various sectors. Sounds important, and it is important. But I seeked for another opinion as well. So I asked from ChatGPT to explain it to like a child. So what did Chat answer me? The green transition is like a big plan to make our planet healthier and better for everyone, including animals, plants and people. It's about using clean energy, taking care of our resources, and finding better and smarter ways to do things. By these changes, we can protect our planet and make sure it stays beautiful for a long, long time. That's pretty moving and touching, and I think it also shows that we're dealing with a profound topic here, to say the least. I think we can all agree on that. But back to the seats here. Vaisala is considered as a measurements company. What role does measurements and data play in green transition? Anne, do you want to start?
Yeah, happy to reflect on that. First of all, the ChatGPT explanation on what green transition means, at least to me, that gave me hope that the artificial intelligence, it sounded pretty intelligent, and it sounded really something that we should all actually strive for. So it's going to be really interesting to think about how does the AI help us with the green transition, but we can come back to that later. To start with, as you mentioned, sustainability is at the core of green transition. And they are interlinked. And sustainability is at the core of Vaisala strategy. So for us, it basically means that we want to be, and we are, a climate leader. And what does climate leader mean? It means that we are providing the type of solutions, measurements and data that help industries to become more sustainable. Because this is truly, I think it's the biggest collaborative challenge of humankind to make this transition. And the measurements and data, they are kind of an enablers of this transition. So kind of the handprint side is to enable the green transition of our customers. Then, of course, we need to make sure that we minimize the footprint of our own operations as well. So being a climate leader means that you are kind of both enabling others to do the green transition, but at the same time, you must take care of your own footprint. And for example, we are doing that through the Science-Based Targets initiative. But it's very, very much at the core of Vaisala strategy. That's why we've also combined the sustainability and strategy functions to make sure that it is guiding the business decisions and the strategic choices that we make for the future.
Excellent. Anything the other panelists would like to add on that? I think that was pretty self-sustaining answer. Thank you for that. Actually, you could continue. What are the actual actions Vaisala's own commitment to sustainability? How it aligns with the whole company's values and mission?
Well, as said, sustainability being at the core of strategy means that we want to be known for sustainable impact. We made a questionnaire with the help of AI to the whole Vaisala personnel, and we asked the question that, what do you want Vaisala to be famous for in the future? And this was the whole personnel, everyone was able to participate, and the response was pretty exciting. So the number one theme that our people want us to be famous for was sustainability and the sustainable impact that we make for the world. And this was really, really compelling to me, that it's not something that's coming, from top or something that's coming from, of course, customers are also expecting that, but it's also, it is, most importantly, it's really a shared mission of the people working in the company. And I know that there are many colleagues here from other organizations in this room who are on the same mission, because it's truly a collaborative mission requiring many organizations to participate. But I think that the most important thing, and the kind of in Vaisala's case, is that it's kind of a shared mission, and the observations for better world is a way in which we enable the sustainable transition for our own part through measurements and data.
And I think this is really good point, because I can see sustainability nowadays has become a key design drivers actually in our R&D organizations. For instance, this latest radio sound product we have launched, it comes with the biotwine. And this twine is used to connect the radio sound balloon and the radio sound. And it's made of the biodegradable products. So that's the first of these key initiative we have started in the R&D, really thinking about how we can start to use sustainable materials in our product design. So I really feel that's a common mission everyone shares in Vaisala.
I wanted to add to the point that what does the kind of sustainability really in concrete terms mean? If we think about the climate leadership, kind of we can divide that into three aspects. It's about understanding climate change, mitigating climate change, and adapting to it. And basically Vaisala products, the measurements and data are used in all of those three aspects. So for example, half of the world's weather and climate predictions are made with Vaisala products. So the climate scientists develop better climate models to really understand how the climate is changing. And what you are doing in in our industrial measurements is basically helping industries to decarbonize, reduce their energy consumption or materials consumption through data and measurements. And then when we think about the adapting to climate change, which unfortunately needs to happen because we are not yet on the sustainable path, we need to kind of step up our actions. And while we are doing that, we need to make sure that countries and especially developing nations are able to adapt to the changing climate. There we are providing early warning weather systems to developing countries like Ethiopia and others who are actually suffering most from the consequences of climate change. So kind of in all of those three aspects, understanding, mitigating and adapting to climate change, we kind of have products and solutions and services for all three areas.
I think finding answers to all of those is actually innovation and being curious and being able to innovate continuously. Any thoughts on this? Do you have any real life like examples of innovative solutions that Vaisala is working at the moment? Jenni, do you have anything to start with?
Oh, well, thank you, Mia. I would say that there are plenty. So we are part of many different pilot projects where we provide measurements to enable really the technology development. And well, one which I could mention is related to synthetic methane production in Japan. So we are providing measurements to the process where we can produce from renewable energy, then hydrogen from water, first of all, and then we take the side stream carbon dioxide from industry. And with those, we can produce this synthetic methane. And what's the beauty of synthetic methane is that you can put it directly into the gas pipelines that we have instead of natural gas. And that way, we can already use the existing infrastructure, and it's immediately available then for the users who used to use natural gas.
Interesting. In your opinion, what is the most pressing issue facing the green transition today? What are the,
Well, one thing I'm kind of thinking we should realize is that everything is happening now. So I would say that unfortunately we are already a little late. So we can't just wait for these great new technology innovations to happen in the future, because many of them are in the pilot phase. And like Anne mentioned, the efficiency is also one way to tackle the climate change or the green transition. So basically what it means that we have to make more with less energy, if you may. And that there, of course, the measurements play a critical role. So we have to ensure that the energy that we have to use is really utilized to the maximum benefit, and that way also reduce the need for additional energy. And I think that's something we can do today already by measuring and understanding and optimizing really, talking about, of course, from the industry perspective, but really optimizing the industrial processes.
Can you still explain it to like a child?
Sorry.
How does measurements and efficiency, what do they have in common?
Very good. So what I'm thinking is, well, we have this customer example that there is a baking oven provider. And of course, they consume a lot of energy when they heat the ovens. And they used to use natural gas for heating and probably use still the natural gas. But if they start to measure the dew points or the humidity inside the oven, then they can optimize the process, so they will maintain a narrower change in the temperature and in the conditions, and they were able to reduce 20% of the gas consumption in the oven. And if that's natural gas, then obviously you have directly clear emission reduction from that. And they even improve the quality with the measurement, but that's maybe another topic.
Interesting. Talking about renewable energy, how do you think the rise of renewable energy sources will impact the tech industry? Do you have any examples or ideas?
Yeah, I think renewable energy is one of these key industries where the weather measurement plays critical roles. Because for the wind turbines, the energy source comes from the wind. So you need to know the wind. And then for the solar farms, you really need to know the solar radiations, cloudiness. And then also, for instance, for the hydro plants, it's important to know the water levels and precipitations. And there, in weather and environment side, we have a lot of different innovations and solutions to support renewable energy industries. For instance, for the wind turbines, we have this kind of nacelle-mounted wind lidar. So it's a remote sensing device. You can see the wind coming to the rotor, and you can see the wind a few hundred meters ahead. So compared to the conventional wind sensors, which is behind the turbine, this can really provide the information beforehand. So you can then align the turbine much more optimally. And in this way, you can optimize the power production and also avoid the wind gas, for instance, hitting the turbine, making the bearings of the turbines wear. So we have really excellent innovations in this domain. And also, I think now we are in X-Weather, so we have also many of these data forecast services. For instance, for the solar farms, for instance, for the wind energies, we provide a forecast for them, so they can better basically use the forecast information to optimize the production and also manage the fleet. So we have a lot of innovations in these areas.
Excellent, excellent. Nice to hear. Still sticking with kind of like the bigger topic of innovation, any exciting new technologies or innovations that you are particularly optimistic about when it comes to advancing the green transition? And now I start with Daniela.
But for me, I think that one topic that has regained a lot of interest these days is this hydrogen economy. And it's something that I particularly believe in. I think that, well, it's not exactly a new concept. It's something that has been talked about for a long time. But the high cost of producing hydrogen, because we need electricity to break down these water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen, it has been a limitation in the past. But nowadays, when we have so many advanced technologies and also like the renewable energy has lower price, then it actually making this green hydrogen production more economically viable. And I do see a lot of potential there, and I think that is the development of this hydrogen economy is really gaining traction and will gain more traction. And like you can use hydrogen, for instance, for fueling transportation or running processes like to make chemicals. So it's something that it will happen, in my opinion. It will be also exciting to see how we in Vaisala also help to enable that to happen.
It's great that you mentioned the hydrogen economy, because that is actually very, very much linked to the renewable energy transition that we just talked about. Kind of the transition towards renewables and the transition to clean energy production, it's the linchpin of all other decarbonization and green transition pathways, because we need abundance of clean and affordable energy to produce the clean hydrogen. We need abundance of clean and affordable electricity to produce high temperatures in industrial processes that are today produced through natural gas. And that is actually something where the Nordic countries, and especially Finland, has a huge competitive advantage, because if you look at the power, the carbon intensity of the power that we get from the grid, it's very, very low carbon intensity, for example, compared to Central Europe. So we can here produce, we have excellent conditions for wind parks, for example, that we can produce a lot of clean and affordable energy to enable this transition to happen. But the one thing is that globally we need to move much faster, and especially here in also here in the Nordics. But we kind of need to move actually 3 to 4 times faster in building the renewables in order to make the 1.5 degrees happen.
Yeah,
or limiting the warming to 1.5 degrees.
Did you have something? Because I want to come back to that.
Oh, please, if you.
No, you first.
Okay, so no, I was just thinking. I think hydrogen economy is an excellent example about these new technologies, but I think it's also important that we remember that we are in a situation. We are in a hurry, as said. I think we need all the technologies that are coming. So I wouldn't vote for any single technology here, but I think we have to have electric cars. We probably have to have fuel cell cars, because they have different benefits and for different purposes. So we have to be open for all the innovations that there are and really support, because I think every carbon dioxide molecule, so to speak, counts in this situation.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And actually now all of you are talking about in this term we, which is great, which is exactly the point. We have to be active together, and there is like no one company, no one industry, no one person who can actually make the difference, but we all in together can make the difference. So I think that's the key also learning from here. It's not about one voice, it's all the voices. So we need to also be accepting those which we don't necessarily yet even understand. But getting back to this, it's not about one voice, but all the voices and reflections. What is the secret behind Vaisala's world-changing innovations? When you put it in the context of we?
I think that sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I think that Anne had a great point earlier about how sustainability really resonates with everyone in Vaisala. I work in R&D and I can really see that a lot. We are a community that we're truly concerned about the environment and want to make a positive impact. And I see how these designers really want to implement that, not only in the materials, but also even the packaging. They're thinking in everything. So it's an intrinsic motivation, and there's nothing better than that really to help us make better innovations and solutions to address these issues.
I completely agree. And I would maybe like to add also that we also have to understand really well what our customers are doing. I think it's like the starting point. Well, especially from the industrial customers' point, we have to really know what their processes are, where they need the help of measurement, so that when they really understand what's happening in the process, then they can really optimize them and do them, and also create these new technologies. So I think that's where Vaisala is strong in understanding what the customers are doing and trying to go into their processes.
Yeah, I agree. We don't only send the instrument, we want to learn what they're doing and how we can further help and develop from there, definitely.
Great points. I think I completely echo what you said. It's about the shared purpose, really shared ambition. Then, as we are talking about technology, I think we also kind of have the understanding that it does require a lot of technology investment and long-term commitment into R&D. I fully agree that we already have a lot of the solutions that we now need to deploy for the green transition, and at the same time we must continue the high level of technology investments. In Vaisala we have more than 600 colleagues working specifically in research and development, and about almost 30% of the personnel committed to research and development, and kind of this R&D commitment and the strong collaboration. You know, any tech company that wants to thrive needs to kind of have a very, very strong culture of collaboration. I think that's something that has been standing out to me as a very particular strength of Vaisala.
Yes, and if I may add, because I'm working in the R&D, so I really feel the whole culture is very supportive for experiment. So if someone has a good idea, then you can submit a proposal, then you get a project funding to really try out the ideas. I think that's really good way to see, okay, fail fast, but no one think failure is a bad thing in Vaisala. So I think that's also this kind of supportive culture, supporting R&D all the time, thinking about new ideas.
Can I maybe continue on that one, because I love this topic? So when we think about the green transition, there are many of the technologies are new. So I think that's very important that we all remember that nobody knows exactly how they are done in the production scale, let's say in 10 years. So we have to really try and be curious and testing and learning. And failure is not a bad thing. It means that we are moving forward and finding better ways. So because it's a new thing for all of us.
Absolutely. Oh, I got goosebumps. So, talking about this innovation and the whole kind of like creating new, we also need new talent. What kind of talent would this new green transition require or demand? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that, of course, we need diverse talent, multidisciplinary talent. We need different perspective and people that bring fresh perspectives so that we can really come up with solutions and innovations to these complex issues in the world. And One thing also that I feel is very important to embrace is this systems thinking. I think that we need these system thinkers that really take a holistic approach and really understand the broader concept that these issues are really existing. Like it's not really just about addressing the underlying causes, but really just the root causes, you know. And I believe that this is when we truly are coming up with great solutions, when we are creating innovations and we are thinking already in advance the impact of this innovation in every dimension, the social dimension, the economical and the environmental dimension, that we can create solutions that are not really going to create issues down the road for our future generations to handle. So system thinking for me is very important.
Yes, good point.
I really like Daniela's point because it's so tempting to say that, yeah, we now need, data scientists and artificial intelligence experts, but that's actually, and we do need, but that's not enough. And you have a really great point that we need to understand the interlinkages and the connections between different domains. And just to give one practical example, we've been talking a lot about the AI revolution, and you started with referring to ChatGPT, and we're all excited about that. I think it's going to be an enormous productivity improvement, and hopefully bringing also solutions to green transition. But we need to understand, the processing power that the AI revolution requires is huge, and there's been estimates that data centers are going to be consuming 20% of the global electricity in the next decade. That's huge consumption of electricity that we need to make sure that it's clean and it's as efficient as possible. And when you're thinking about data center, there the servers need to be on, they need good conditions. The temperature needs to be just about the right, and the humidity cannot be too high. So 1 degree of measurement error can lead to 8% of overconsumption in energy. And when you double that, when you think about what kind of processing power the AI requires, we really need to be thinking about data center energy efficiency. So these type of interconnections, I think, are super important and require this kind of deep T-shaped talent, that you have deep expertise in some domain, but then you have kind of broad enough expertise to be able to connect the dots and talk with colleagues from different fields.
I also think that we have to remember that the whole this green transition, it's going through the whole society. So it will touch everybody, honestly. So who is not using electricity, maybe then not, but otherwise I would say that everybody will be impacted in one way or the other. So I completely follow what Daniela was saying. We need to have different kind of people who understand from different perspectives what this means for this certain group of people or this society or this activity area. So that's why we have to, I would say everybody has to take their part here.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just to add to that, it's not only about, we are talking about tech this week, but we need behavioral scientists. We need because behavior needs to change for us to make the green transition. So I'd like to kind of welcome all the psychology majors and behavioral scientists and people who study how humans behave to really take active part in the green transition, because we cannot do this without understanding and changing human behavior.
I think it's IEA was saying or had this estimate that it's almost 20% or a little bit less that should come from behavior change of these emission reductions. So fully following what you're saying.
Massive topic, isn't it? But exciting topic. Let's dig a bit deeper and get up close and personal with the green transition. Vaisala's mission is to help to build a sustainable future by providing innovative solutions for demanding measurements environments. How does this mission align with your personal values and goals? Who would like to start?
If I may start first. So as mentioned, I have been working with the sensors for many years. And one of the customer group I work very closely in my career has been the wind turbine manufacturers, so the wind turbine OEMs globally. Because for the wind turbine to operate, what's most important is to get the wind data. The wind speed and direction data are fed directly to the control and safety systems of the turbines. For instance, if the wind exceeds 25 meters per second, then the turbine needs to slow down for the safety reasons. And what does this mean? If you just take a sensor, a wind sensor, which is designed or typically used on the ground level to the turbines on top of the nacelle at the meters of 80 meter or 100 meter, it does not really work. So really working with the customer together and then test our sensors to fit into that environment, a constant vibrating environment, a sensor which has very powerful de-icing capabilities so that it can really deliver 100% data availability are the problems we solve together with the customer. So that's something that we have worked very hard in the R&D with our customers together to find these kind of solutions.
So kind of like togetherness is your personal sort of
Yes,
something that
with
you
the
see,
customer together and closely and understand their pain points are very important.
I love that example of building something together with the customer to enable the green transition. That was exactly the reason why I joined Vaisala, because I'm new in the company. You've been with the company for 14 years, and for me, I've been only since August. But I learned about Vaisala already 10 years ago, because I did my first part of my career in university and working in research. And 10 years ago, we had projects where we were building clean tech solutions together by the technology companies like Vaisala and their customers. And I was really impressed about the way in which Vaisala was involving customers into the product development to enable kind of together the green transition and make the kind of the cleaner technologies available. And kind of that resonated very well with me, because my kind of own career mission was to accelerate the adoption of clean technology. Like if there's something that I'm passionate, that's about it. So that was kind of exactly the reason I saw the kind of collaborative power that the Vaisala team has in really engaging the customers in the product development to make sure that it really answers the needs of the customer, and then it gets kind of wider adoption in the market. So it's I love the example, and it's great to see that it's still happening and it's actually accelerating.
And it actually really motivate everyone in the R&D.
Exactly.
Oh, well, maybe if I confess that when I joined Vaisala, I wasn't thinking so much about the green innovations. It was more I'm interested in technology. But now that I have been working quite closely with the industrial decarbonization topic and hydrogen economy as well, I see how much we have to do, which is probably already clear from my previous comments today. So I really feel the urge that I want to be part of this, and I want to participate and do my share of this work that needs to be done. So that's one of my key drivers. But I also feel exactly the same, that going with the customer discussions, understanding the customer processes is really exciting. To be there and see the change happen in concrete steps. So these are maybe my most important drivers that keep me very well motivated for many years, I think, considering the time frames.
For me, coming from a background in chemical engineering and chemical technology, green manufacturing is something that has always been close to my heart. It's one of my big interests, my passion, as you were saying. So I am really happy to be working for Vaisala that shares the same passion, and it really enables me to take more tangible action into that. So Vaisala's mission really resonates with me as well.
Good. Vaisala is a global company and has a global presence with employees working in variety of roles and locations. How does this very diverse work environment contribute to our ability to create the sustainable solutions. Any personal thoughts or comments?
Well,
Is it accelerating, or is it sort of limiting something?
obviously, it's accelerating or at least helping us to ensure that the solutions are meeting the different needs in different regions. So maybe a very tangible example of how different regions can be different is that if we look at the Asia-Pacific region, their factories and coal plants are pretty new, so their lifetime is like 5 to 10 years maybe. And of course, they don't want to ramp them down because of green transition, because they have made a huge investments there. So they need more support on the efficiency side. But then if we look at Europe, we have pretty old factory fleets, so it's really natural. Hey, we have to do something for them. So why not take into use a green technology like green steel production or something? So I think when we are operating in different continents and different countries, we really see these different perspectives that need to be taken into account, and then we understand the different needs in different locations, so it's not one size fits all. It's not even in one inside country, it can be also regional even, the difference. So I think that's really a strength for Vaisala.
Yeah, and if I may add to your points, I also noticed, especially in developing countries, one of the value Vaisala can provide is to provide the best practice in the industry, because we really work with very wide customer groups across the globe. So there has been, we have learned together with our customer what would be the best practice, and then share that to some different customer group. And that's also something our customer value a lot from us.
The diversity, equity, and inclusion that you mentioned, those are values in itself. They are important, and at the same time, they are enablers of successful business. So they lead to something good, but they are value in itself. So that's the reason why we want to embrace diversity in our teams, equity and inclusion. And especially when we now think about, we need to think about what type of organizations we build for the next generations, for the generations to come. We've been talking a lot about millennials, but we actually need to think, how do we build organizations that resonate with the generation Alpha? And so that refers to people who are born in 2010 and in 2020s. And I strongly believe that the topics of sustainability and diversity, equity and inclusion, they will become only more important for the next generations. So they are value in itself, but they are also the basis, the ground for good business. Yeah.
Absolutely. Excellent. We soon have some time for questions, but before that, final treat for the audience. A real-life example from your work. Can you please give an example on your area of expertise, on how Vaisala's technology are helping to support a sustainable future? We want to hear about sustainability in action. Who would like to start?
Well, maybe I can start. This is something that really excites me. So giving one example is difficult, because I would say, at least in my own field of expertise and working with the liquid measurements analyzer, I would say that basically every application that we have is meant to really help our customer to make their processes more efficient. So whether it is in a small application, such as just mixing preparation or something like that, where our instruments are providing the data, the feedback to the customer for them to manage the raw materials better, or the more complex applications such as evaporation control, where our instruments are used then also to really optimize this energy consumption and still meet the targets or the quality that the customer is needing. And one application that I really like is this interface detection that we can find in many industries, and in a way it has many sub-applications. You can use, for example, interface detection with our instruments, like to monitor whether you have a leak, and then there's high organics in our waste streams that the customer need to detect this so that they can really plan or manage their wastewater treatment accordingly. And one case that really have really have liked a lot throughout the years, and it's one with a dairy company. It's an international dairy company that had this corporate mission some years ago to try to reduce cost and reduce waste in their operations. And what our instruments are doing here, they're now in this bottling line. So in this pipeline, they're passing different type of milk, and where they go to their final containers. As you can imagine, then it's very important then to detect what is the product there, so that it matches the container. So you need a fast measurement for that, and we are capable of seeing this different type of milk. And usually when customers do this, in any industry, then they have some either water rinse or some cleaning between products, which also is another application for us. But in this case, the customer is pushing one milk product out of the pipeline with another product, which you can imagine that if you don't have reliable measurement, a fast measurement, then it results in a lot of product waste. And the case was that they were having a changeover time between product of 15 minutes, and then after they installed our instrument, then they realized that after 2 minutes only, the product changed in the pipeline. So there's a huge difference there, but still, I think that they're using 5 minutes only because of regulations, and so they have been able to reduce waste like 2/3. And I think that this also highlights also like our products are showing that in the line after 2 minutes there's already changeover in the product. But still, like how our technologies maybe can be used in the future also to optimize this regulation and further really make this green transition better.
Thank you. Excellent point. Jing, do you want to go next?
Yes. So one of the most recent projects I have been working with is about the greenhouse gas concentration monitoring. Because as we know, when we see those reports of the greenhouse gas concentration, they are increasing every year. What kind of trend? They are actually mostly built on the reporting. So based on the statistical data analysis and then reporting. But what the science community, or for instance, like WMO, World Meteorological Organization, nowadays is calling for the importance of observation, because these two methods, the reporting and the observation, they need to be combined in order for us to better quantify what is the greenhouse gas emission. And that is something I have been recently working on, and with our sales team doing the pilot project, delivering basically our carbon dioxide probe-based solution to monitor the greenhouse gas emission. And our solution is different compared to the traditional high-end solutions, where you need a lot of infrastructure investment, because those gas analyzers, you need to build a big container, you need to have a tower to have those inlets, and then air conditioning systems. And our probes are very compact and easy to deploy. Therefore, there is a potential to actually build up a denser network and providing better observation data for the greenhouse gas emission monitoring.
Excellent.
So I'm super excited about this project and opportunity.
Absolutely, I can imagine. Very important. Then, Jenni.
Well, in my role, the idea is that I'm understanding what's happening in the customer area, and especially what the future trends are. And then I'm taking this insight to our R&D teams so that they have the ability to build those sensors that the customers will eventually in the future need. Recently, I have been looking at this carbon economy. And even if we think that carbon dioxide is like the bad guy, it's not actually. We also need carbon dioxide in our economy and in the industry. And now that we are changing away from fossil fuels, it means that we will not have the natural source of carbon dioxide from there. So we have to think how we rebuild also this carbon economy. And there are very interesting applications on this area. For example, first of all, we need to capture the carbon dioxide. If it's not coming from the fossil fuels, we need to capture it, for example, from outdoor air or from the maybe biological carbon dioxide from biomethane production. And then once we have the carbon dioxide, we can either store it somewhere underground if we just want to kind of take it away from the atmosphere. But there are also many applications, and I think in the future we will see a lot more applications on this area. You can, for example, capture the carbon dioxide inside the concrete elements, which, I mean, concrete is one of the most polluting industries now. So if you can capture some of the carbon dioxide inside the element, then obviously it's reducing the carbon footprint there. But it's also improving the quality of the concrete. And this is where, of course, then carbon dioxide measurements come into play, all of these applications. So Vaisala has already quite strong offering of carbon dioxide measurements, but we have to think what we need in the future with this new application, and this is what I've been working on lately.
Exciting. Anne.
Well, I get excited about what colleagues are sharing, because these examples are kind of all across the company. There are teams are building as we speak together with customers these solutions. I want to mention a couple of examples from the X-Weather team, because we are today located and hosting this event in the X-Weather team working space. And what the team here has built, for example, just a couple of examples for the car industry and for the autonomous driving. Majority of the cars that are made in Europe, and especially in German, they are now equipped with Vaisala weather data. So the car gets the weather data from Vaisala, and then also the most responsible car makers and most responsible autonomous driving companies are utilizing the Vaisala weather data and combining that with the road weather data. So because, you know, if you have smart cars, you're going to need smart roads. You would think that the car would have all the sensors, but the car doesn't know if the road in 1 kilometer is actually slippery and in bad condition, and you want to know that if it's an autonomous car. So they are combining the road weather data and Vaisala weather data to enable the autonomous driving, which is pretty cool. And then also kind of some of the most responsible companies are also combining the location data with Vaisala air quality data, so that the car is able, if it's a hybrid one, it's able to switch from the combustion engine to electricity if it's close to hospital or if it's close to kindergarten. And these are pretty cool applications of how you combine different types of weather and road weather data and air quality data to enable smarter kind of online decision making. And I think that's a pretty cool example that the team in this kind of working space has been building lately. They also launched a Weather Guru service only 3 weeks after the ChatGTP came out. So it's a quite agile team in terms of coming up with new innovations. So pretty cool to be part of that type of transformation.
Thank you. I hope you are all as excited as we are here on the stage about all of this innovative and very creative and courageous work that these ladies here are doing with their teams. So, unfortunately, this is about the time that we have for this discussion. We have now still some time for questions. If you have anything to question, anything to comment, any ideas or thoughts from the audience? Anything from online? There is one, please. Please, you'll get the microphone. Please state your name and company and keep the mic really close to your mouth. Thank you.
Hi, and good morning to everyone. I'm Anne Franzas from ABB. I'm also working with renewables and sustainable technologies. So thank you for inspiring presentations. My thoughts are about we as industry want to do our best, but then also we have our governments. And so I was thinking, what do you think about the Green Deal and how is it affecting Vaisala's operations, and are we as Europe heading towards right direction?
Maybe Anne, would you like to take?
It's a great question. As we started kind of with the theme that the transition requires everyone, and it's a collaborative effort. It doesn't, it definitely requires government and strong government action. From the business perspective, what we need from governments is very predictable and ambitious climate policy. That's what we need to enable the green transition. And I'm very hopeful that in both in Europe and here in the Nordics, we are committed to ambitious climate policy. That's the key. And also kind of the predictability, for example, that we truly enable the transition, but at the same time, while we are doing it, we take into account things like biodiversity, that we are kind of not causing harm while we are deploying these technologies. And it is a challenging act, so it really requires smart policy from governments. But I think that we've seen good examples now that governments have been stepping up their game. I have to say that it's not enough. So, for example, for the next, climate negotiations happening, we would need even more ambitious global action to happen at the government level.
May I continue? Please. That was very good statements. So if we think about what EU has done, and then if we compare with the IRA, which is in the US, I think we should maybe make it even more straightforward or clear in the EU also what the benefits for the companies, or let's say the subsidies and supporting mechanisms are. Now the EU regulation is pretty complex, and there are a lot of open questions which put then the industrial actors in a position that they don't really know which technology would be the best one, because they don't know which regulation will be applied. While in the IRA, to my understanding, is that if you do certain steps, you are always given then the monetary benefit. So I think the US is coming more from the business perspective than EU, and maybe that's something we should also implement a bit more here. I mean, maybe our targets are stronger, but then we should also take the business point of view there to really help the companies to come along.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. I hope that gave you an answer.
Yes, similar thoughts.
Any other thoughts you'd like to share the audience with us? There is a question. So again, please state your name and company, and keep the microphone very close to your face.
Good morning. My name is Arina, and I'm working at the European Chemicals Agency. And I want to make a connection between the Green Deal, European Commission's policies, and Anna's comment about behavioral sciences. Because right now, European Commission is utilizing behavioral science. They have a particular unit that they're utilizing information and insights. So basically, choice and decision-making architecture in introducing new regulations and implementing policies, and a bit of nudging at the same time. So it's quite interesting that you mentioned that, and I think that introduction of the behavioral scientists and studies inside different corporations is the next step, and because a lot of governments, especially I think UK, started with the behavioral science. So that was fascinating that you mentioned that. Just wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to comment on that?
I want to comment, and I really want to applaud that you are kind of deploying the behavioral science to enable the change and enable kind of the how we move forward in the chemical side. We've actually seen some of the very successful behavioral science cases in the energy world. For example, there's been startups that have been nudging people towards saving energy through behavioral science. And I think that we need to kind of adopt those solutions across many different sectors. I hope that in the future, like today, we have the nutritional content in every food that we buy. That's a standard. In the future, we have the sustainability content and the carbon footprint of every, food ingredient or every kind of everything that we buy, basically. That should be the standard of the future, and that kind of helps then with the behavioral change when we also have the information and information to make more sustainable decisions in a easy format. So I think that's also a great area for innovation and thinking how could we come together, companies and organizations that share this mission in innovating those type of behavioral science solutions as well. Great point.
Thank you. Excellent. Still maybe time for yes. There's a question from the line.
Yes, hi everybody. Also everybody online. My name is Niina Eklund and I am moderating the active chat that we are also having. So thank you to all our online participants as well. Many of the questions online have been answered also in that chat, but there is one also now building upon the topic of behavioral science, and also a question to Vaisala. Maybe I address this to Anne. How do you see the Vaisala's role in shifting the society's mindset towards reduced consumption as such? You mentioned it a bit, but the interesting part is here now that Vaisala is a B2B company, but we also have so much environmental data in hands, so our voice has a unique perspective and credibility. So could you open up a bit your thoughts on, behavioral science and Vaisala context with the data that we have?
What a question. What a question. That is truly something that kind of sparks imagination, that what could we do with reliable and accurate data and measurements to enable the behavioral change? I think that's a big open question that we are very, very excited to explore. Because if you think about the industry side, on that side, we already know that the transformation does require the reliable measurements. You're not able to reduce your energy consumption or material consumption if you're not providing the measurement points. But I think that the same happens in the consumer side. We kind of need to know, for example, the carbon footprint of different products that we buy. We are not there yet, but we will be moving forwards towards that type of future. And there are startups that are developing those solutions. And I think that the data and measurements will play a key role. And our role together with organizations like here in this audience is to make sure that we get the data and we get the measurements in the type of form that enables the decision making. So it needs to be also easily understandable. And I think that is a challenge to all of us with engineering background, myself included, that how do we make the data in a form that enables decision making that is also interesting and digestible for us humans. So I think it's a great question coming from the audience and challenges all of us to innovate.
Absolutely. And I think that's also now that kind of like is a nice conclusion of our session this morning. The time is up, and now I want to thank you panelists for a very inspirational conversation. I thank the audience online and thank you all joining us here today. And I hope this gave you some sparks and new ideas as well as it did to me. Thank you all.